Hey everybody, welcome back to the Rock and Jouv show.
What's going on, y'all?
Last week we worked through our Eastern Conference predictions for the 2021-22 season, and this week we'll be tearing through our Western Conference predictions.
Yes, sir. Fresh out of the garden. Maybe we taking these predictions all the way this year.
Al is going to be a little angsty teen today, as his Knicks are now what 2-0,
3-1.
3-1.
3-1, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only loss I saw in person against Orlando, that game was trash.
Oh my God, I didn't know
Sorry,
you.
we
I
mopped
didn't.
up Philly last night. We're looking
I did not know you lost that game. That's
yeah, that was dude in person, dude. And we were up 13 in the second quarter. I was like, damn, this is exactly what I paid to see. And then it just went all downhill. But whatever, it's all right. We beat Philly last night.
we
We
had a
looked
good game against
phenomenal.
Boston, so
Yes,
you won't get many more of those. But we realized that the season has
Tom Brady
begun.
owes me bread.
We realize that the season has started, so these predictions are from before the season. So we're really not even going to look at the standings when we say it.
Yeah, we have not looked at the standings. We are sworn to that.
Well, Al is blatantly lying. I mean, I'm looking at the standings right now, but I have my list from before the season that we'll be looking at, so we won't be taking into account any of the standings as they currently are.
I
So
plead the fifth.
yeah, I
No,
bet you do.
these standings are from preseason.
Um,
Damn, our viewers have no trust in us anymore.
yeah, well, you're just
This
demolishing
is
that as you go.
terrible.
You're just
This is
lying through
terrible.
your teeth.
We'll give them a nice preview. We'll give them a nice preview. Anything that's happened so far doesn't matter because the predictions that we have in store here at this Oracle are it's what's going to happen. As we said, we're taking these predictions all the way this year.
So why don't we just go ahead and start with the first seed in the West? Who'd you have?
I had the Utah Jazz,
Okay.
and I think I think for me the reason why is easy. Um, and I think that's just because the Utah Jazz are a regular season juggernaut. At this point, I think that's clear. They basically bring back almost the same team every single year, and to their credit, their team gels so well. All of their obviously they're top guys. They got their Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, and Mike Conley. That's like their quote unquote big three. Those guys all gel so well together. They got their Joe Ingles, Jordan Clarkson, like Royce O'Neal's in the starting lineup every year, Bogdanovich. Like it's just almost the same team every single year. And they're able to use that continuity. They don't have to worry about integrating new pieces. They don't have to worry about a new system, anything like that. It's the same thing every year. And just like what happened last year that they won over 60 game, right? Did they or they were on a what would have been a 60 game pace in a full season. And I think that they're going to do essentially the same thing this year. While there's a lot of teams like the Lakers integrating a new piece, the Warriors bringing back Klay Thompson among other guys,
Mhm.
and the Suns, I think, probably having a little NBA Finals hangover. But I say the Jazz top seed. How about you?
That is kind of crazy that the Suns made it last year. You know what I mean? That was just like one of those
Dude, it
seasons
is.
that I don't know. It just doesn't feel like it was real. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know, and a lot of things that happened last season kind of the same thing. Like it just doesn't even feel like it happened. Like the
Yeah.
Knicks being the fourth seed, sometimes I'd think about it. I was like, how?
Hmm.
But you know,
So
legitimate fourth seed though.
yeah, here I had the Nuggets.
Interesting.
Yeah,
And I thought about that. I thought about that until I
came to your senses.
yeah, I would say it came to my senses. I just remembered that Jamal Murray probably won't be back for a couple months. He's supposed to play this year, but that he's going to miss a little bit of time. And I think that they're definitely a better team with Jamal Murray in the lineup. And just the fact that eventually he is going to have to come back, and whether he does get back to how as good as he was the last 2 years or not off of that injury, and how to reintegrate him. That's going to be my theme. Is in the Western Conference, a lot of players being integrated into new systems or reintegrated, because it probably won't be my big theme, but just so far it has been.
Sure. Yeah, as long as you have a
That's
mini
just
team.
that's just kind of why I didn't have the Nuggets
Well, I'll
this
tell you
high.
why I did have the Nuggets. I mean, Jokic is the MVP last year. I don't see this team getting much better, but I also don't see any of these other teams getting much better. I think the same thing with the Jazz. The Nuggets are kind of a regular season workhorse. They always kind of strive for that. They were the third seed last year. I can just anticipate them definitely taking home court, and if they can get to that play-in game, I mean, there's not going to be an easy team in the West to kind of pick
Yeah.
off, like I think there will be in the East. I mean, obviously the West has always been stronger, but I feel like I can just feel the Nuggets kind of, and Michael Porter Jr. just got that big contract. I don't even really know of any other major moves that the Nuggets actually made. I don't really think they did make
No,
any.
exactly. Like I literally think they're just like the Utah Jazz that they're running it back.
But even if they run it back, to me, I don't know. I kind of always thought that the Jazz were on thin ice last year. I understand that they did.
They got Jeff Green. That's like their biggest. They got Jeff Green and then drafted Nishan Bones Highland.
I mean, the Nuggets
From
only lost
VCU.
5 more games than the Jazz last year, and that was the difference between the first
In a
seed
short
and the
in a
third
short
seed.
season. In a short season, that's kind of a lot.
Yeah, I guess, but I mean, I don't have the Jazz far behind, to be honest with you. But that for the number one spot, and the number one spot doesn't really matter. I think.
No, as we've seen, it does not matter.
I mean,
it absolutely does not
how many
matter.
times have the Bucks lost as the number one seed? How's the Hawks lost as the number one
Dude,
seed? Has
the Philly last year, as
Yeah.
Philly lost to Atlanta as the number one seed last year.
Yeah, so
And the Jazz, whatever. Who did the Jazz lose to last year? The Clippers.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, they were up. Weren't they up 2-0, and then they just lost to the Clippers even after Kawhi was out.
Right. So I don't think it matters. I'm not saying that I think that this team will even necessarily go very far, but I think they'll take the one spot.
I feel that, and I think a big part of that is Nikola Jokic. He's just incredible.
Mhm.
We have not seen. There's not another player in NBA history that you can think of that's like, Nikola Jokic is like this guy. There's just nobody.
Mm-hmm. Great, great court vision, great passer. He's the whole nine. So
Absolutely. Who do you have at your? Who do you have at 2?
I have the Jazz here.
Yeah.
What about you?
Regular season juggernaut. I have. Oh, all right, now I think this team is much better suited for the playoffs, but I kind of just wanted to double down on the fact that I'm very high on this team this year. And that's Golden State.
Oh wow. Okay, that's very interesting. Let me get in my 2 cents about the Jazz real quick. I mean, you've already obviously
please.
said everything, but
Please.
and then I'd love to hear your Warriors explanation. But yeah, I mean, obviously you've already said it. The Jazz, I mean, they are going to be. I mean, having Jordan Clarkson as like the real bona fide sixth man of the year slot basically every year. I mean, they have Depoy and Rudy Gay. I mean, this is a great team. I think I said Rudy Gay. I meant Rudy Gobert, but they do also have Rudy Gay. But yeah, I mean, they do kind of have their own big three with those guys, and Mike Conley's still there. So I think this is a good team. I think same thing. I don't think it's going to translate necessarily to playoff aspirations, but I mean, they'll obviously make the playoffs. But
In fact, I think that it won't.
yeah,
If I got to be honest, dude, I legitimately think it won't.
Yeah.
I just don't. The additions like Hassan Whiteside as a backup center, that's pretty solid, and like Rudy Gay is always like he can come in and give you points. Like their bench definitely got better, but
they did
do you
just
think
beef
that
up.
they just
You know,
yeah, but like, do you think that the main thing with this team? Who did they lose? Oh, Derek Favors. I don't even know where he went. I knew like somebody was missing, but I mean Derek Favors for Whiteside, whatever. It's like apples and oranges at this point.
I would really like to see a resurgence of Hassan Whiteside. I was a big fan of his. When he was making his resurgence in his career, that this most recent time, I like him.
Dude, when Whiteside was on Miami, I thought he was great, and he kind of just I don't know exactly what it was, but he definitely just fell off. And there was like at one point in time where Rudy Gobert and Hassan Whiteside, they were kind of almost like they were almost viewed as like the same player. They were both these younger, up and coming, like underdog story, defense first centers. And I mean, Rudy Gobert has won like 3 Defensive Player of the Year awards now. I don't remember if Hassan ever got one or if he was always just like up there, but one of them is backing up the other one, and one of them's like a perennial all-star type player, and Hassan's now a role player. But yeah, I don't think additions of Hassan Whiteside and Rudy Gay are going to be what takes this team from getting knocked out by a short-handed Clippers team in the second round to all of a sudden winning the finals. But you never know. I think really they're basically their best hope this year is that a guy like Donovan Mitchell turns into a superstar, or that uh, I mean basically, or like Rudy Gobert had some crazy offensive transition over the offseason, which I don't think he's had.
Yeah, it's just hard for me because I kind of have a hard time seeing. I mean, when I think of players that can be the best player on a championship team, it's very few, right? Players right now, obviously, you're really only looking at a Giannis, a Steph Curry, a Kevin Durant, LeBron. Like you're only really looking at the top, really even like 5 or 6 players.
Yeah.
But if I think of players in the future that I can see being the best player on a team, it's a little hard for me to see Donovan Mitchell as that. The only people that really stand out to me, and I hope this doesn't sound biased, is if I had to think about it right now, I'd probably say Luka, and I definitely say Tatum is on that list. I think he can be the best player on a championship team, and I'm not even saying necessarily he's going to bring Boston to a championship within the next couple of years. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that I think that Tatum's sheer skill and ability, I think he can be the best player on a championship. Yeah.
No, exactly. His game is perfectly his game is perfectly aligned to something like that. I think Luka, if Luka had a better team around him, I think even right now he could be a number one option on a championship team. The Mavericks roster is just trash, if I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
The job that they've done filling out the roster around him is trash, and we'll definitely get to that. But yeah, I think like it's not that Donovan Mitchell can't get there. I mean, Dwayne Wade was. I mean, him and Shaq were like the 1A, 1B when Dwayne Wade won a title in his third year with the Heat.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of like Donovan Mitchell's ultimate comp is like, oh, maybe he can get to the Dwayne Wade level. So I guess it's not that that's out of the realm for Donovan Mitchell, but it's much easier for a player like Luka Doncic, who's somebody like we've never seen before, or Jason Tatum, who's like that perfect like wing forward, like 6'8", two-way player, like fantastic shooter, fantastic shot creator. Yeah, I really don't disagree with that take at all. And like I've definitely jumped down your throat for saying shit like, oh, like this Celtics player could be like I've even definitely jumped down your throat about Tatum specifically before, but
Yeah,
to
we
say
keep each
that,
other in check. We keep each other in
no,
check.
we absolutely keep each other in check. But that's not necessarily even a far-fetched. Like you didn't say Jason Tatum is going to be the best player. The Celtics are winning. The Celtics are taking it all the way this year, baby. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I think what you said is completely accurate, and that's especially right now. Donovan Mitchell's what, like 22?
Yeah.
Like I don't think he's. Oh my God, he's 25.
Yeah, I don't know. I just said yeah to whatever you said because I always forget
I
these
didn't
guys'
realize
age. I forget that they age at the same rate that we do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude,
So it's
exactly.
like when I'm like, how
I
old
mean,
is Jaylen
25 is
Brown?
still
I'm
25
like,
is still young. Like if 25 is
yeah,
old, like
right, then we're screwed. But
yeah.
like when I think about like same thing like Jaylen Brown, I'm like, oh, he's probably like
Donovan Mitchell.
22.
Donovan Mitchell's 25, but like Donovan Mitchell's like the same age as us.
Yeah, I always remember that because Jaylen Brown
God
is the same
damn.
age as us.
That's so insane.
It was actually just Jaylen Brown's birthday a couple days ago. As I'm looking at his age.
It was, dude. It was. And sorry, we'll get back to talking about the Western Conference. Jaylen Brown, I think I mentioned it on our Eastern Conference show. Absolutely unreal in Madison Square Garden last week. To no avail. But did you see his dunk on Miles Bridges to close the game the other day, bro?
That's so
Oh my
mean.
God, dude. No, Jaylen Brown is. I am absolutely a Jaylen Brown fan. Like that's the thing. I'm trained to not like the Celtics and everything like that. But like, I don't know, dude. Like Jaylen Brown and Jason, I respect the shit out of Jaylen Brown and I respect the shit out of Jason Tatum, dude. And I don't know, especially Jaylen Brown, dude. That dude, like, I love his game. I love his ability defensively, and especially when he's dunking on other teams and doing shit like that.
Oh my God, it's just.
I'm just like, my goodness.
It's so like perfect, and he fills that, and we went over it last week. It's like he got here first, then Jason Tatum came in and is arguably, a better player than him. He's a better offensive player, but Brown is, I mean, a better defensive player, and Tatum's still a great defensive player. But just to have the two of them and to watch them to watch Tatum be like, all right, it's Brown's game. Like Brown goes off for 46.
Dude,
You know what I mean?
exactly,
And Brown is
exactly.
explosive athletically.
Dude, he's crazy.
yeah.
No, his like hops are ridiculous, and like you really don't realize how good of a fucking scorer and shooter he is and everything until he puts 46 on your head, you know?
I'm so glad that he was an all-star last year.
Yeah, he truly deserved it. And what's crazy is when Jaylen Brown was drafted third overall, everyone was like, "Oh, what a reach!" Like Ben Simmons went 1, Brendan Ingram went 2. Both of those were like whatever. That's exactly who everyone thought was going 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jaylen Brown was a reach at 3. Jaylen Brown is absolutely a better player than Ben Simmons at this point. It's not even a question.
Right.
It's not even a question.
Yeah.
And him versus Brendan Ingram. I mean, at this point, that's even a toss-up. But I would probably venture to say that Ingram and Jaylen Brown's defensive abilities could even give him the upper hand on him.
I do think that Brown is a better player, but it's just because, yes, Ingram can put up 25 and everything, but as we've seen, so can Brown. But that defense is really what sets them apart. I mean, Brandon Ingram is so fluffy that it's just he is not nearly the defensive player that.
So honestly, props to the Celtics for I mean, like his development has been great too. He basically had that 1 year where he had like that down year where Kyrie was still there. And then the Celtics paid him a pretty big contract, and everybody was like, "That's a terrible contract." And then Jaylen Brown has done nothing but just kick ass, really, since signing that contract. So good for him, and good for you.
I mean,
but
I appreciate that. I mean, basically 2 years in a row, we got what I would like to say is probably the best player in each draft. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because if we look at the 2016 draft, it's the only people that have, the only like standouts are Simmons, Ingram, Brown, and Sabonis. And I think, Jaylen could be any night better than any of those guys, but at least interchangeable. And the next year, it's Tatum, Donovan Mitchell, and Bam as the 3 standouts, with De'Aaron Fox never being selected to an
Fox
all-star team.
Too, yeah.
But
I think for me, that draft has got to be between Tatum and Mitchell. But if you're building a team around one of those guys, exactly what you said, that like it's a lot easier when the best player on your team is like, name me some teams that have won NBA Finals recently. Like, correct me if I'm wrong here, but name me some teams that won NBA Finals recently where the best player on the team was a guard. Only Golden State, and that's because Stephen Curry is the best point guard that we've ever seen, any of us.
Yeah.
And literally changed the entire sport.
Yeah, you're right. If I'm going back, I'm thinking, obviously Giannis is a big, and then LeBron,
LeBron.
and AD, and then we're looking at before that
Kawhi,
and then
I mean, it's like all of these teams, like usually these teams will have a good point guard, or at least like a good floor general. Like, it's not saying that, but it's so hard to build your team around.
The last person I can think of, go ahead. No, go.
Like, if you're building your team around a guard, like a guy who is 6'2", like if you double team a guy who is 6'2", like somebody like Stephen Curry, it doesn't even matter because you'll shoot the shit out of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so much easier to game plan around a guy like that than to game plan around somebody like Giannis, who's 7 feet tall, has fucking 8 feet long arms, can do literally everything on the court, and then now even this year has like a jump shot, or somebody like Kevin Durant, who, like, again, 7 foot and is probably like one of the 10 best shooters that we've ever seen, at least from like a star player. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know what? The last person I can think of is probably Kobe, that 2010 season.
Yeah.
I mean, so what is that? 11 years ago that a guard was the best player on a team?
Besides Curry. He just
Curry.
doesn't even count. He doesn't even count.
Yeah, he barely can. You're absolutely right.
And even Kobe Bryant is like arguably a top 10 player of all time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that just shows how good the player has to be in order to build around them and win titles. So we'll see if Mitchell can get there, but nonetheless, we're both definitely high on him. Do you have anything to say about Golden State? We can get into Golden State wherever you have them in the standings if you want.
Okay, sure.
Who do you have at 3?
Right now I have the Lakers.
Interesting, and that's actually where I originally had them, but I'll get to that. I'll get to that.
Who do you
I have
have here?
Phoenix.
Okay.
I have Phoenix.
See, this is a divide for me. Okay, so the reason I had the Lakers up this high, and I'll just tell you real quick. You know, I thought the addition of Russ, like, yes, people were going to kind of go crazy about it, but I had always thought my impression of this was, you know, not because Russ is fantastic. I mean, yes, they got Russ and Carmelo, and they added DeAndre Jordan in the offseason. All guys that whatever can contribute. They brought Rajon Rondo back, but I was really thinking Russ is such a stat aggressive person, just to put it lightly.
Yeah.
And LeBron just wants to win games, you know. So I thought there was going to kind of be a mutual understanding where maybe LeBron was going to be like, yeah, go ahead, get out there and get all the stats and the points and whatever. As long as I break the all-time scoring record, I don't really care what happens. But Anthony Davis obviously needs to get his. But I kind of, that is my impression of how that was going to unfold, is that, you know, go ahead, let Russ play the whole game and burn himself out, and LeBron and AD can kind of stay healthy and rested and just kind of jog up and down the court, you know, play a little defense and take a little corner threes and let Russ just go crazy for the rest of it. That was my thought.
Yeah, I think a lot of what this team is going to be is that, like, it almost makes sense, like, whatever, you're not going to bring Russ off the bench,
Right.
but you're going to probably have to stagger.
Yes.
It makes the most sense. It makes the most sense to stagger Russell Westbrook and LeBron James. Obviously, you're going to want both of those guys in the fourth quarter, but Russell Westbrook isn't really spacing the floor, and LeBron is best when he has a bunch of guys around him spacing the floor. And the same with Russell Westbrook. He's much better when he has other guys around him spacing the floor, because he is also a great passer and one of the best playmakers that we've ever seen.
Yeah.
And the same thing with his backup, Rajon Rondo.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so. And while one guy, it's kind of like, which guy is going to run the offense while they're out there? It's like, yeah, sure. Like, if you have Russ bring up the ball, then, like, what exactly is LeBron doing, or like vice versa?
Yeah.
Both of those guys are very ball dominant centric players, and then even a guy like Anthony Davis.
Mm-hmm.
Like, are you just basically going to turn Anthony Davis into like a pick and roll man with Russ or something like that, or with LeBron? I mean, sure, like a LeBron AD like pick and roll combo could be disgusting,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a lot of ball to go around and a lot of ball centric players that I feel like the three of those guys is weird, and there's just not a lot of there's the spacing just isn't there.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
Russell
I mean, I guess
Westbrook is
that's
a
why they
minus.
added. That's why that you add Carmelo Anthony. You know.
Yeah, and you know, and what we've seen so far, like Carmelo had that great game the other day.
Mm-hmm.
I think he had like 28 points. I forget if he started or came off the bench, but he basically, the Lakers were losing by a lot in that game, and while their stars were resting, like Carmelo like did bring them back in that game, and ultimately the starters closed them out. And bringing Carmelo definitely helps him in that matter with the spacing. And I think at this point in his career that he's absolutely bought into the whole team aspect of playing basketball,
Mm-hmm.
that he took a lot of criticism in the past for not doing. I think at this point he knows that if he's trying to win a championship, that's his only real choice. But I mean, we, like, obviously everybody talks about how this team is old as shit, and it's not false, but even just personnel wise, it's like, oh yeah, we're bringing Wayne Ellington literally just because we hope we can make some threes. Like, Kent Bazemore, hope we can make some threes. Like, Malik Monk, Kendrick Nunn, they just brought in a bunch of guys. It's like, yeah, hopefully these guys can make threes.
But that's
And
the thing. If we look at this roster from last year to this year, yes, it got thinner in some senses. Where I even forgot that they had Andre Drummond last year. It seems like forever ago. But
I know it does.
So, you know, you lose Montrezl Harrell, you lose Andre Drummond, you lose Kyle Kuzma, you lose those guys that were in Dennis Schroeder. Like, you lose guys that were kind of unreliable for you. And I mean, you do go out and you bring
It's
back,
true.
you know, you bring back Dwight Howard, who was good there, right? You bring back or you bring in
DeAndre Jordan
Jordan.
is a zero. At this point, DeAndre
Okay.
Jordan is an absolute zero.
Yes, he is. But Malik Monk and Kendrick Nunn, those guys can shoot, they can play.
Those were good pickups, honestly. They're both getting paid dog shit, and they're like, at the very least half decent young players. So
Yeah.
I think those two were good pickups.
It's just funny they like brought all the boys back. Like even Avery Bradley is back.
Even Avery Bradley, dude.
Trevor
And
Ariza.
Trevor Ariza, he's probably not even gonna play. That
That's
poor dude got
hilarious
injured,
though.
but
Like
it
they
is,
just
dude.
like this is literally like a
Wayne
throwback
Ellington,
episode.
Wayne Ellington, former Laker. Kent Bazemore, former Laker. Rajon Rondo, former Laker.
Wow.
Trevor Ariza,
Way former
dude.
Laker.
Yeah, at this point, like, who else are they gonna bring in at the deadline? Like, give me someone.
Is Robert Sacre still available?
Yeah, dude, Robert Sacre, he could come over from like wherever the hell he's playing right now.
He's probably an accountant somewhere.
Yo, they bring in Pau Gasol.
Oh, that'd be
Wait,
awesome.
speaking of, where's Marc Gasol? Is he not on them anymore?
I heard he like went overseas or something.
I think. Fuck. Oh man, he
Yeah.
makes more sense than a guy like DeAndre Jordan. Whatever.
Yeah, he's playing in the Spanish league right now.
Yeah, I think I did hear something about that now that you mentioned it. But
I love
this
Marc
team-
Gasol. I love Pau Gasol too.
Yeah.
I really always have.
both Gasol brothers, fantastic.
Yeah.
In my opinion, both of them Hall of Famers.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
But yeah, I think this Lakers team is definitely going to be weird. They have too much talent to be dog shit.
Mm-hmm.
Full disclosure, I'm about to have them at 4, so we don't really have to talk about them
All right,
later on
give
too
me
much anymore.
Who did you have it? You had the Suns here.
I had Phoenix at 3,
Yeah,
and
go ahead, light it up.
I don't know. Last year they kind of beat the shit out of Phoenix. The Phoenix beat the shit out of the Lakers,
Mhm.
and I know they just brought in Russ and everything like that, but I just feel like the Suns have a much better team identity than the Lakers do, and I think that's definitely important in the regular season because the regular season is an 82-game grind, and I don't think the Lakers know what the hell they are, and they probably won't know who they are for a long time. But that doesn't mean that they won't be successful in the playoffs. Like we look at in football, the Buccaneers last year, they didn't even know who the hell they were. And then all of a sudden they won the last like 4 games of the regular season, and then they ran the table in the playoffs because they were like, shit, we have literally all this talent. Like we're literally the best team in football. Like look at this team. And I don't know. That could be what the Lakers are, but I don't think they care too much about the regular season, and I don't even, and it's like just looking at the age of all the players on the team, I don't think that they're gonna put all their eggs into the regular season. I think as long as they can avoid the play-in, that they'll be fine with it. And whereas Phoenix, I said that I could see them having a little finals hangover because they didn't really do too much to improve this roster.
Mhm.
Also, like they brought in Landry Shamet, who he's a good shooter. They're definitely a good guy to bring in off the bench. JaVale McGee, and then let's not forget Elfrid Payton.
Right.
Yo,
Of course. Your
but
boy.
my boy Elfrid Payton. I genuinely do wish him well, but it's the upgrade of Kemba Walker over him is just night and day. But I mean, the Suns are kind of just running it back again. I don't think that they're going to be back in the finals this year. And now they have this pending looming thing with their owner that could be coming out. There's no details or anything like that, but there were like whispers. There were like whispers like a couple days ago that like this could be another like Donald Sterling type thing. Obviously, this was not before this. This was not before this season. This is now. This is just me looking at it now. He might have, dude. There was like reports the other day, but nothing came out about it. I don't know if he like paid people to be like, all right, let's calm down here, everybody. I don't know, but kind of the same thing. They bought back almost the same roster. I don't think that's going to be enough to get over the hump.
Mhm.
And I mean, last year they were the 2 seed in the West. I see the same thing happening. Only the Warriors, who are getting star level players back and really did change up the team. That's the only team that I have hopping over them. I don't know. I see the Phoenix like winning maybe a playoff series and calling it a day.
I think, just to quickly just go back to what you said about not caring about the regular season. With the addition of the playoff, the play-in, I think that we're going to kind of see that change. People are going to try to definitely stay out of there, stay out of an extra game. But in reference to the Suns, I don't know. I'm seeing Chris Paul as a year older, you know. And what is he now, 36? And
36, I believe.
and I know, yes, he's a
Yeah.
great player and he impacts winning a lot, but they're already going through kind of trouble with DeAndre Ayton and his contract. I guess that's now privileged information because we wouldn't have had that before. But to me, DeAndre Ayton isn't a max player. I'm big on like let's not just throw it out to throw it out.
Yeah, let's not give everybody the max. No, I do agree with that he is not a max player.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, like he's definitely a key piece of the core of this team.
Sure,
And
but I mean, what is he actually providing you? And his numbers could be great. I could click on his name right now and see, that he's averaging crazy numbers, and I'm going to look like a fool. Oh, he's not actually. Give me his numbers off the dome.
this year I honestly don't know. I have not watched the Suns game myself. So
Okay, so we're looking at give it to me.
10-8. That's not good. But what he
Yeah,
provided in the playoffs last year, that he was like this athletic, strong center that didn't have to come. He didn't have to come off the court in the fourth quarter. He really kept Nikola Jokic in check, and
sure.
that was.
I mean,
And
yes,
he
that's
had
going to
that
be
moment where
big.
he had the buzzer beater and everything like that. Like I don't. It was just.
But when I think of a max money center, I mean, yes, I'm thinking of Jokic, but also I'm kind of thinking of Domantas Sabonis. I'm thinking that's somebody that's earned it. I know DeAndre Ayton. I think he can kind of shoot the three. Is that crazy? He can, every once in a while, like if he
Like
takes it, he can make it.
every once in a while. If he hits one against your team, you're definitely cursing at the television. That's
Right.
how I see it.
Okay.
But for me, I feel like he's the guy that you have to lock up. I think you have to be like, all right, listen, you're not a max player, and I don't. He's like on the cusp of being a max player, but he's not quite there. Like Luka, Trae Young, like they just got their super max. Like you don't think twice, right?
Yeah.
DeAndre
Right.
Ayton's definitely not that level player, and he's not eligible for that huge super max either. But I think you got to be like, all right, listen, we're going to give you a little bit less, but here's what you got to do. We made the NBA Finals last year. And we got to keep some money for the rest of everybody. You know what I mean? Or else this team isn't.
Throw some
We might
incentives in there.
we might have to let a exactly. We might have to let like a Cameron Johnson go. We might have to we might not be able to get that role player that can. We might not have the we settle for Alfred Payton when maybe we could have gotten
Yeah.
I don't know, Derrick Rose or something.
I
Even.
just don't think that everybody
Rose
needs
was
to
never
get
going
one.
anywhere else.
It's kind of like when
know.
they were giving out these huge contracts to like Timofey Mozgov and like Luol Deng.
Yes.
I mean that's obviously like infamous in history as like terrible contracts, but it's like that's just classic like, oh, this is just what you do, so this is what we're doing. It's like one of those things where I don't know, like say the subway system. It's like it's not always a great idea to like go get the card or whatever and like have to put money back on it. It's like there has to be a better system, but it's just like this is what we do. So
Yeah.
let's just do it. You know what I mean? But no, we could
Yeah.
definitely figure something else out. But so he just thinks just because he is a good player in the NBA that he deserves a max contract. He does not. So that pisses me off. But other than that, I think Chris Paul is just a year older. He's a 6-foot point guard, and yeah, he can impact winning in a great way. But I think I would have rather have seen him. I don't know. This team is just too young for him. Is that crazy?
It's not crazy. I think the fit is definitely there, but they just gave Chris Paul what was it, $100 million this
Oh my
offseason?
god, I
And
forgot
that's
about
crazy
that.
shit, dude. That's crazy shit. You remember 2 years ago when Chris Paul was considered an albatross, and then he went to the Thunder and he rehabilitized his image, and then obviously went to the finals with the Suns. Like, I don't know, dude. You have to look at that and you have to be like, they gave him I'm pretty sure it was 4 years, 100 million, or 3 years, 100 million.
No, yeah, I think you're right.
That shit is going to be a bad contract in a year or two.
Yeah, he's got to be
It will.
40, and you're going to be paying him $25 million.
Yeah.
Really?
Let's grow up.
The only person that really deserves it is LeBron. But I don't know. I have the Suns not much lower, but I have them lower. So who do you have at your 4 seed?
That's where I have the Lakers. I just think I just had to have the Suns over the Lakers just because of how they beat them in the first round last year, and I just think that the Lakers aren't. I don't think they're gonna go full pedal to the metal in regular season. That's just why I wanted to have the Suns over the Lakers.
Okay. Here is where I had the Warriors. So why don't you lead us off on the Warriors?
All right, so I don't know. I think it's no secret that not having Klay Thompson the last 2 years was definitely that definitely sucked. I
Mhm.
think part of what made Stephen Curry so good is the fact that he had arguably the second greatest shooter of all time next to him in his offense, and the two of them could just literally run around all day, have Andrew Bogut or JaVale McGee or whoever set screens, and they just go over screens. They have like a little bit of space, and they just bury threes at a ridiculous rate that nobody ever saw before. And I don't know, Steph Curry. Once Klay Thompson gets back, I think that absolutely takes his team back to another level. I think Draymond Green having two generational shooters in that lineup makes him so much more valuable because at this point, offensively, he's trash. Like, he's still pretty good defensively, but offensively, we saw last year with the season on the line, he could have had a game winner, and whatever the hell that was trash. Um, and that's really why I'm so high on the Warriors is that because Klay Thompson's coming back. They even brought back Andre Iguodala, so it's like they have the
What?
yeah, dude. Andre Iguodala is back.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yes, I was watching a game. I forget if it was their first game or whatever it was, but I was watching them and I was like, oh shit, Andre Iguodala is back.
Wow.
And I don't know. I think at this point he's not that.
He's not Iguodala anymore,
But just having him back there, dude, having him back there is definitely key.
you're bringing
I
the
think
boys back together.
you're bringing the boys back. That's exactly what it is. I think they're one call away from bringing Harrison Barnes back, and they have whatever. What did they call the death lineup? What was the name for that shit? Before Kevin
Their
Durant ruined
small
it and
ball
made it.
thing.
I don't know. That shit where they would have
I think it was
Barnes at
just the death lineup or something.
yeah, it might have just been the death lineup where they had Draymond at the 5, Barnes at the 4,
That was crazy.
and with Iggy in there, that shit was insane. And then once you put Kevin Durant in there, it was like literally the most disgusting lineup anybody ever saw. But I digress. I don't know. I think they also obviously James Wiseman, he's out right now, but having him in there is definitely huge because he's a guy. Like if James Wiseman could even be like what Mitchell Robinson is for the Knicks, having that on that Golden State team, they never even had a center that impactful on defense ever, and who could run the floor, who could be a rim runner like that. They drafted Jonathan Kaminga this year. He's out right now. If he comes back to it, if he could be like at the very least a defensive stopper role player, and then as he gets older, that he develops that offensive game more. Moses Moody, I don't even know if he's really been playing too much this year, but I think that's another great pick because he's a great defender and he could light it up from the arc. A lot of people love Jordan Poole this year. I mean, he's done nothing but improve, and he's a good shooter. Even Damian Lee, solid shooter. Otto Porter, they brought him back. They have guys who could shoot and guys who can defend. Like I feel like they have a much better cast of role players that fit this team much better this year. And then let's not forget about Andrew Wiggins, who had a good resurgence two-way season last year. At this point, Andrew Wiggins is kind of like what Harrison Barnes was for them, but only a little bit better. And
really?
if
a little bit better, you think?
I think Andrew Wiggins, I would say
he's 6'7".
From when Harrison Barnes was on them, I think Andrew Wiggins is a little bit better as long as he buys in because he really is a crazy talented player. And if Steve Kerr and co can help him put that together, I think he has the potential to be like what Harrison Barnes was, but just a little bit better and really fit well with that team. But as long as he knows that that's Curry's team and once Clay's back, Clay's the number 2 option offensively and just let those guys do whatever and play your role and play defense and just be focused. I think this Golden State team can be nice like that.
And they got Moses Moody.
Dude, Kendrick Perkins is he's so funny. Yo, even Bielitsa, bro. Even Bielitsa is a role player.
I mean,
they have just role players. Juan Toscano Anderson's still there. Chris Chioza, bro. They just have. That's a great roster.
This is
That's
a portion of the show where we're
roster.
going to gush a little bit about the Warriors, and if you're not a fan,
Dude, I'm
then you're
sorry.
gonna need to
Like,
skip ahead. But
yeah. If
this,
you
go ahead.
please go ahead. I've
Well,
talked about them for too
well,
much.
no,
Go
I was
ahead.
just gonna say I had them at my 4, not as an insult, but rather as a compliment. I mean, they were the 9 seed last year. They actually had more
Yeah.
wins than the 8 seed Grizzlies, but I don't know, probably winning percentage or whatever. Maybe
No,
they.
dude, the play-in.
Oh, the play-in. Okay, so um, so yeah, I mean, they had 39 wins last year with nobody basically, and they used these last 2 years when Clay was out to get these awesome draft picks. I mean, seriously, like, Wiseman, Moody, and who's the other guy? Kaminga. So it's like they just stacked up on really good talent at a young age. Okay, they still have Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, two of the best shooters of all time. Draymond knows how to play a role. Like you're saying, they're bringing back Andre Iguodala. They brought in Otto Porter, which is great. I mean, that guy,
Dude, Otto Porter is a good basketball player.
he's
You
a
just
good
forget about the
basketball
fact
player.
that he got overpaid that one
Yeah,
time. He's good.
but that's what's nice is he's just, I don't know what his role will be or whatever. But I mean, seriously, we're probably going to be looking at like a mid-season like trade. If this team does well, I mean, why are you not packaging, and as I was just
Yeah.
like looking up their roster, I looked up Klay Thompson's injury return timeline, and an article said that the Warriors are literally a healthy Klay Thompson away from really taking it. Like if Kyrie doesn't return to the Nets, the Warriors are pretty deadly in contention.
Absolutely.
Because I know it's gonna sound crazy, but the last time that that the Warriors were really effective was maybe 3 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, last year he was like an MVP candidate, but
But
like
the last time that
last year was the Steph show.
the last year that it was really the Warriors, I mean, that was how many years ago?
When they KD probably.
So what was that? 2019.
Yeah, and then KD tore the Achilles, Clay tore the ACL, and then at that point it was like so.
Okay, so it's like that was like almost 3 years ago, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like if you look at some of these teams, I mean the NBA landscape looks different now than it did those 3 years ago, right? I think that's safe to say.
100%.
So these teams that are good now, like okay, so what did we say that was 2019? Let's look at the teams that are good now weren't good then, right? So
Yeah, like the Phoenix Suns weren't even a factor.
Right. So we look at
The Jazz, they look at it as just a pushover.
Right. So they were all pushover teams. These young teams, I'm going to guess that they don't really know how to handle that. Like,
Dude,
you're not going to
true.
tell me that Luka, like the last time that the Warriors were really good, I don't even think Luka was in the league. So these players don't know how to handle Steph and Clay. And like, don't forget, like, they're going to be guarding them. You know what I mean? Like Luka's going to be guarding Curry.
He's going to have to guard one of them, dude.
He's going to have to guard Curry or Clay, and then he's going to have to switch up. He's going to have to handle that. And like, it's just like one of those things where they've been dormant for so long that when they come back, people are going to forget how to behave. You know what I mean? They're going to forget how difficult it is to cover. I mean, I already a couple times this season, I've seen Curry just launch it and nobody's near him. I'm like, why are you not guarding him out there?
Dude, the end of that Clippers game the other night, I actually did watch the end of the fourth quarter of that Clippers game. Dude, he hit like a 40-foot bomb.
Yeah.
And then the other possessions, Curry is just sprinting around the floor, and he like hits like a running catch and shoot from probably like 30 feet out, like on the right wing.
Yeah.
And he just nails that shit.
Oh my God.
I was like, Stephen Curry is obviously he was back last year, but I was like, the Warriors are back, dude.
Yeah, I mean,
like,
dude, they didn't have like it just wasn't the same teams. You know what I mean? Now and yes, it's gonna be a little different. They're gonna be a little slower. They're gonna trade Andrew Wiggins mid-season. If you package Andrew Wiggins and Jonathan Kuminga, who are you not getting? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
If you pick, if you throw your pick in there,
like just look at like any good team that look at like any team with a good player that their star player is struggling, and
Mhm.
like they have a package that they could put together and get anybody they want.
It's just amazing. I don't know how they've handled this entire thing, and they still have Steve Kerr coaching.
Mm,
I mean, he's still a great coach. You know, that's still a very, and they were freaking winning almost 40 games, and all they had was Steph Curry
yeah,
and co. Like it's just
his like number two option last year was Wiggins, and it was like Wiggins and what's his name, Kelly Oubre.
uh
That was the team last year.
yeah. I don't know, man. I think when they were at their height, like there weren't some of the younger players now that are going to be like really effective weren't around for that. You know what I mean? Or at least
100%, dude.
if they were on the roster, they weren't out there guarding
They
Steph
weren't
Curry.
relevant. They weren't
Right.
relevant like that.
So I just think it's going to be interesting. And like I say, I do really think that if they think if Kyrie doesn't come back and the Lakers are struggling around the deadline, and let's say the freaking in the East, it's like, yeah, there's Milwaukee, but Philly lost Ben Simmons, so who really? If it's
Yeah.
weak, oh my, and the Warriors are steamrolling, then hell yeah, I'm making a trade. I'm getting rid of Kaminga. I'm trying to get Steph another one before he starts declining eventually. It's like
Yeah.
hell yeah, like this is a pretty weak league this year, I'd say.
It's like a deep league, and that's why I feel like a lot of teams went for it this year, but it's like sure everybody expects the Lakers, sure everybody expects the Nets, and like the Bucks just won the finals, and whatever, the Suns just made it. But a lot of the teams that like should have made a jump, like a Mavericks or like I mean the Hawks still have a crazy deep roster. I don't really know what they were doing, but a lot of teams just didn't go for it. Like the
Yeah,
Sixers, what the fuck did they do?
yeah. I mean, dude, the Sixers are going to lose
The
their,
Suns, they didn't do shit.
yeah, the
The
Suns didn't
Jazz,
do
they didn't do
anything.
shit.
Yeah, Nuggets
The
really.
The
They lost
Clippers are
somebody.
about the Clippers are running back a worse team. Oh my God, Portland! Talk about not doing shit.
Yeah.
Portland.
I mean, I've never had
Oh
faith in
man,
Portland though. That's
Dame Lillard was like, I don't know. Every year he's always like, I'm loyal to Portland. I'm loyal to the Trailblazers. After last year's, it's like it's got to be better.
yeah.
And I was like, shit, dude, he could maybe be out. He runs it back, and they're like, yeah, Dame, we got you. We're gonna get you some help. This year we got you Cody Zeller.
Yeah, it's embarrassing. I don't know.
Also,
What?
but just before we move on, what Sporting News was saying is that Klay Thompson, over the next month or so, Klay Thompson is supposed to be cleared for full practice, and he could be back as early as December.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that people better figure their shit out before Klay Thompson gets back. Like
Dude.
I have a lot of faith in Klay Thompson. I do, but I think it's because, I mean, he is
And
one
do
of
you
the
know
greatest shooters ever. He's a great defensive player. He'll obviously be slow after this ACL, but
Do you know what's fucked?
yeah,
The Warriors are 4-0 right now.
yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I don't, and it's not just crazy because it's whatever, it's 4-0. I mean, they've played, I think they beat the
Right now,
Clippers, right?
right now the league has to be setting ground on the Warriors before Klay Thompson gets back, before they're able to see what they have in Kaminga and Wiseman, and they're not doing that. They're not
Mhm.
even taking advantage, dude.
No, they're not.
All right, who do you have at the 5?
What did they have? I have the Mavs.
Yes, I also have Luka Doncic at the 5.
Also, just real quick, just last thing on the Warriors. Luka Doncic.
Yeah, you know what? We're just gonna call this the fucking Warriors show.
One
bro.
more thing. They've beat Portland,
please,
who's
please.
pathetic. They beat the Lakers, who are supposed to be good. They beat the Clippers, who are. I mean, all three of those are playoff teams. Sacramento, and then they beat OKC. Sacramento could be a playoff team, like a play-in team. You don't know, but it's like, and then they took OKC. And also throughout that time, Curry's averaged 29 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists. So that's just,
Dude,
that's
it's
just
gross.
crazy.
It's just gross behavior.
Yeah. But Luka Doncic at the 5.
Yeah, I'm not saying that I have the Dallas Mavericks at 5. I have Luka Doncic at 5.
Yeah.
And I think he actually kind of has had a slow start to the season. He did that a little bit last year too. So I'm not worried about him at all. The Mavericks are still, I think, 2-1 right now, or 3-1, or
Hmm.
something. 2-1.
Okay.
They look terrible against the Hawks. Absolutely terrible. I don't know. Do you have any opening remarks on this team as a whole?
I think that they're just going to be a middle of the team packed. Pack. I think that this is going to be, I think the 5 slot is fine, and I don't think that this roster can really elevate as long as Kristaps is going to remain just Kristaps. This roster is not well suited around Luka, and not for nothing. I mean, they did lose Josh Richardson. That is their starting 2 guard. I don't really know who they filled him in with or anything, but I don't see another player on this roster that's much better at that. I mean, Tim Hardaway is streaky,
Hmm.
as was Josh Richardson. I understand, but this is not a great roster.
No.
This is a lottery roster if Luka is not on
Yeah,
this team.
I'm just gonna dive in. This is absolutely a lottery roster. I mean, they did just pay Tim Hardaway Jr. He was clearly their second best player in the playoffs. They didn't want to let him go, and because they just didn't see a better upgrade on the market, and I get that. I've I've personally rooted for a team who overpaid Tim Hardaway Jr. before. So like I get it. I know how it is.
True.
Um, but and Porzingis right now, I mean, whatever. If they get KP, like if he could be how he was when he was on the Knicks, then sure, Dallas has a legitimate chance to be like a dark horse. But right now, they just have K Porzingis, number 6, and he's just not nice like that. I just don't know how else to put it. I don't know if it's that he's never recovered from the injury or that
I
he's
miss
just
him.
like soft.
I miss him. I miss a good Kristaps. I really do.
Dude, he's just like not nice like that. And I think Jason Kidd, I think the hire could, like, so far it's kind of a joke. Um, his whole philosophy, like he wants to get Porzingis more involved offensively, and that's not necessarily a terrible idea because if you're relying everything on Luka, then it's like how you're just having one dude who's 22 years old just take us as far as he can go, and it's like whatever. Um, but he's like, I don't know. I don't think he's really made adjustments to help Porzingis too much. He's having his team take a lot of mid-range jump shots, and it's unintelligent. Honestly, it's very unintelligent. And then last night against the Rockets, he played. He was the first ever coach to play. I didn't even know you could do that. I thought the max you could suit up for a game is 14, but he played all 15 guys last night. And then in the post game, he was like, "Yeah, I did that at the due to the request of the three-headed leadership council of the Mavericks, something like that." And everyone's like, "What the fuck does that mean?"
Yeah, what are you talking about?
So I don't know. So far, the Jason Kidd head coach thing hasn't gone too well. It really didn't go too well on when he was the coach of the Brooklyn Nets, and he was like having guys knock over his drink to get a free timeout, and then on the Bucks, where I don't know, he wasn't utilizing Giannis, who's now we know is like arguably the best player in the world. I don't know. I don't like the Jason Kidd hire. Moving on from Carlisle isn't the problem, but not bringing in somebody who I think is better is. The roster, whatever, dude. Like Jalen Brunson's a solid guard right now. They use him as their 6th man just because he's better orchestrating the offense when Luka's not there. But their roster just straight up didn't get better. Dwight Powell still starts at center. Dorian Finney-Smith still starts at small forward. Those are like
Those are
mediocre role players,
year
bro.
long. I mean, they've been there for years. That's been the rosters, the Mavericks roster for years. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
like the guys that they brought in, I've always liked Reggie Bullock, but Reggie Bullock was not. He's a good defender, like good 3-point shooter, but he doesn't create any offense, and like he's not like crazy. He's not really that athletic either. I don't know. He just literally is just a 3-and-D guy who could be good with Luka, but they don't even play him with Luka too much. They brought Frank Ntilikina in, who I think it's a great pickup, but they're not even they use him. They played him like maybe 5 minutes last night. Like
Hmm.
I think he's a guy that should be getting minutes next to Luka Doncic, and I think the two of them could complement each other really well. But they're not even trying. They got Moses Brown right in that they got him from you guys in the trade. They don't even play him. Like he's definitely the center that has the most upside on that team, and he could be like a good shot blocker and just be a black hole on the boards and just get like 15, 20 rebounds on a good night. And they're just it's the same thing. They're barely even using him. And then Sterling Brown's like a decent shooter. Like these are marginal upgrades, and even the guys that have upside, they're not even using them that way. So I don't see how you expect better results from last year to this year.
Mm-hmm.
If you're Dallas, I say another 5 seed, maybe you get a good matchup in the first round and you actually win this year instead of like losing in 7 because you only have one competent player on your team.
Right. The 6th slot here, I had. I just don't have anything else to say. I mean, you clearly, I'm sure you watched plenty of Mavericks games. Especially with your brother being a huge Mavericks fan. I think Luke is a good player. I've definitely talked poorly of him before a Celtics game, and then he's definitely proved me wrong. So I have nothing to say. I just don't think that this is a good roster. I think it's probably, without him, I gotta say, one of the worst rosters in the NBA, to be honest.
Who went 4th? Jaren. All right, I'm just gonna do hypothetically right now. Say that they passed on Luka at 3 and they went with Jaren Jackson Jr., who went 4th, right? I like Jaren Jackson Jr. I think he's a great player, actually. A ton of potential. Just has been injured. If you replace Luka with Jaren Jackson Jr., this team is probably the worst fucking team in the league.
Yeah. Seriously, I mean, even the Rockets, who, just obviously had kind of like a fire sale, they still have Christian Wood. They still have...
Dude, the Rockets have, pieces to build around.
Kevin Porter Jr., they have John Wall, they have Jaylen Green. They still have a good team. The worst roster in the NBA is probably the Pistons. And if I look at the Pistons, I mean, they still have Sadiq Bey. They have Luka Garza, which is kind of funny. I forgot about. But Josh Jackson, Magruder, they have Kelly Olynyk. I mean, Lyles, Killian Hayes.
The guy there to watch is obviously Cade.
Yeah, but that's the thing, is their second... Okay, so their best player is probably Jeremy Grant. And then,
true.
And then they have Cade Cunningham. But, they have 2 good players. And Kristaps is just not that... you know what I mean? He's just not there. I don't know. He's just not there lately. So it's kind of crazy because if I had to look at a list of names, I might even honestly prefer the Detroit roster over the Mavericks roster. It just doesn't work.
We're talking besides Luka, right?
Yeah.
I say, whatever. Well, if you're saying that you'll take swap out Luka and Cade because they're both 6'8" point guards. Whatever. Obviously, Luka's one of the best players in the league, and Cade is just a rookie. But
yeah, I'm talking, of course, minus Luka. This is probably the worst. I mean, you have Frank Ntilikina, you have Reggie Bullock, you have Willie Cauley-Stein, Maxi Kleber.
You have the Knicks.
Trey
cast-offs.
Yeah, it literally is.
Yep.
And then at least in this other team, they have a promising...
Dude, Jeremy Grant is good.
Yeah, Jeremy Grant's good. Sadiq Bey, Isaiah Stewart, those are all second-year guys.
Exactly. They have promising guys that have potential. The Mavericks here, they have just about all guys who have hit their peak and have been on the roster, and we know exactly what they are. And we know exactly that they disappear in the playoffs every year.
Yeah, they're 4, 5, 6-year guys. At least Detroit has like I said, a couple second-year guys. They have Josh Jackson, who they're taking a flyer on. Why not? They have Corey Joseph, who's 10-year man, but he's a good player. He can help mentor. So no,
he's a
okay.
Mavericks type player. He's a Mavericks type player,
but he's okay. He's fine.
He's a Mavericks player,
but he's not their best player. He's not trying to.
No,
be
exactly. They're not asking. They're not putting him in the starting lineup like he's Dwight Powell.
Exactly. They're not trying to. And Kelly Olynyk is obviously one of the best players in the conference. So.
Kelly Olynyk, the fact that he kills the Knicks almost every time we play them pisses me off so much.
But dude, look at it. They still have Killian Hayes. They still have Cade Cunningham, Killian Hayes. They have Sadiq Bey. You have Jeremy Grant, Isaiah Stewart. That's kind of a nice team.
It is.
It will be, and the Mavericks just don't have that will be. That's the issue.
Yeah. So who do you have at 6?
I have the Suns. I had them
Oh,
really
all right,
low.
all right.
I think we're gonna just see a huge drop off. I think last year was definitely a fluke. Shortened season. I think they kind of took advantage of that. I just think it's gonna be a fluke.
I could like they easily could be shortened season merchants. I hope
Mm-hmm.
there's not too many of those in the league, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. So far, so good. But here I have the Clippers, and like now thinking about it, dude, I don't know why. Even though Jamal Murray's not coming back, I don't know why I would have like the Clippers didn't play the Nuggets last year, right? The Suns played the Nuggets.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't even know why I have the Clippers over the Nuggets. Like thinking about this, I feel like I'm overthinking it because
They did just get a Eric Bledsoe.
I don't give a fuck about Eric Bledsoe.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Yep. Yep.
I think
Serge
you know
Ibaka.
what? Because I think the Clippers still have a good team. I think Paul George being the guy again, I think that'll definitely. Paul George is an underrated player at this point. He really is. Like he does not suck. He's not trash. Their
No. Yeah.
roster just
You know.
their roster just definitely got worse. I guess at this point, I looked at it and I was like, if Kawhi Leonard comes back, he's a much better addition than when Jamal Murray comes back. I don't know.
I think they could be interchangeable. Like they are not a regular season warrior. That's why, especially with Klay Thompson being hurt. So that's why I had them. Wait, you said you had the Clippers at 6?
Yeah, I had the Clippers at 6.
Okay.
I think it makes more sense to have the Nuggets at 6. But for the sake of argument, I think Paul George is going to have a monster season and remind people that he's not trash. And I think he did that during the playoffs last year. Like he absolutely turned it up. And everyone was like, "Oh, playoff P, playoff P." I think that we're going to see actual good playoff P, but for like an entire regular season again. And
I'd like that. I'd like that.
and I think people remember that he was definitely at his height was a top 10 player or like
Oh, easily.
at
When he was
least
battling
arguably a top 10
LeBron.
player. Yeah,
Oh
dude.
my gosh, those were awesome.
And even like on OKC, dude.
Yeah.
Like he was probably like I don't know, like 9 or 10 in the league.
Yeah.
Like Paul George is crazy good, and I think Jokic is also crazy good, and they have the familiarity and everything like that. But I don't know. I think the Clippers know that if they suck, this team could easily get blown up, and I just don't think they want that to happen.
Right. I had the Clippers next.
Yeah.
I think we were gonna. I mean, you know, whatever. Wherever they end up, they will be in the playoffs. You know, it's just crazy because I consider them too talented to really like lose in the first round or whatever. But I mean, you never know. Like they have really choked it away the last few years.
The thing is, their basement, like the Clippers, I'm looking at this, their basement could definitely be missing the playoffs if a team like Memphis makes that jump. The Timberwolves look really nice, like their star players put everything together and shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the Nuggets should be fine. I have them at 7, just because without Jamal Murray and if Michael Porter Jr., I think if I hope he's not the type of guy that he gets paid and then he just takes that shit to the bank and coasts the rest of his career because he got $200 million, I think.
Mhm.
If am I correct?
Yeah.
And that's
something.
ridiculous. That's ridiculous. I'm going to be completely honest with you. Michael Porter Jr. is not that nice.
No, he's not. He's not. He doesn't.
He's
deserve
not. He's not. Does he have the potential to be that nice? Sure. Like he literally could be a top, I don't know, 15, 20 player in the league in a year or two if he keeps working and hits his potential. But I just haven't seen that. And if he doesn't hit that next level, then it's kind of just going to be the Jokic show and a bunch of like meh guys.
Yeah.
And like I also want to see them utilize Bull this year.
Mm-hmm.
I really want to see that because I hope that he's not just another one of these guys that has like crazy potential that like he has injuries and never really gets his chance. I mean, they've only played him in one game so far this year. How many minutes did he get?
I hope he's not like a Taco Fall situation, you know.
That's what I'm saying, dude. I don't want him to be like that. He had one game he played 3 minutes, so he was playing garbage time, dude. Like I don't want to see that. At the very least, if they want him to be like Boban, where they want to take care of his body and like give him load management, and he's only playing maybe every other game, and then by the time the playoffs come or something like that, they unleash him. Like, sure, I get that, but like, you have what could be an incredible talent there if he stays healthy, and I do want to see him take that next level, and at the very least be a really good quality role player that has the potential to be more.
At my next slot and my final, well, I guess it's not final anymore, but my eight
Yeah.
seed, I have Portland, but I'm rethinking it.
Dude, I have Portland too, and I'm the same exact way where like I'm not proud of it. Again, I've always been a Damian Lillard guy. I always will be a Damian Lillard guy. It's the same thing with the Mavericks, dude.
I
I
need to,
have Damian Lillard at my 8
yeah,
seed. I don't have the Portland.
I need to put my money where my mouth is. I'm always down on Portland. I'm going to take
You
them.
do. That has always been your thing on the show.
Yeah, there are just some teams I just don't believe in. There are some players I just don't believe in. I think Dame is a great player, but this loyalty to the Trailblazers, who have not really given him success basically since like LaMarcus Aldridge. I mean, they have not put
Yeah.
a great roster around him in forever.
No. And CJ McCollum, I mean, CJ McCollum, he was the 10th overall pick, so like I guess they did expect some things out of him, but he was like borderline buried on the bench
Yeah.
for the first 2 years of his career, and then he finally only got a chance to play once the entire team besides Dame left. And what else did they really bring in since that?
Yeah.
What else did they really bring in, dude? I mean, like Nurkic, and the Nurkic trade was a good trade. He's not the best center in the league, and like yeah, he definitely got his shit derailed a little bit by that like terrible injury. But who else do they really bring in? Like nothing, bro. Look at this line. Look at this fucking team again. Like Norman Powell, they traded Gary Trent for last year. He's fine, right? Robert Covington, they traded a first round pick for him. I thought that trade was stupid, but whatever. Like he's like a fine role player. And then you have Nurkic, but like you need a team, dude, and they just don't have a team. Every year it's new role players. This year it's Cody Zeller and Larry Nance. Last year it was Robert Covington and Powell at the deadline. Like they never did anything to upgrade that roster, and that's what I feel like the Mavericks are doing right now. Like you keep the same mediocre guys around that aren't that good. You pay them $10 million a year. The contract becomes untradeable, and then you just eat that spot in your rotation. And even their draft picks, bro. Like I liked when they picked Nasir Little in the 20s because it was like, oh, he has potential, but like he's hasn't done anything. It's like his third year already, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
And they haven't even like tried to put him in the rotation. Like Zach Collins, he's not even there anymore, but they drafted him, right? They barely even played him. He had some injuries, and then only in the playoffs they're like, oh wait, this is our secret weapon we're gonna unleash. And he just wasn't ready for shit like that. And I feel like their whole plan over there sucks.
Mm-hmm.
It does. And like CJ McCollum is a good player, but like Damian Lillard has always said that he wants to win a championship for Portland. Like, are you winning a championship where he's your second best player?
Hell no.
And the rest, and like, if they had the best fucking bench we've ever seen, it's a different story, but they don't. They straight up don't. And like CJ McCollum's like the only other guy on that team that defenses really have to worry about. Like at this, like Nurkic is a good player, but no team really game plans around a player of that, not like that caliber, but just that style of player anymore, where the league is gone.
I made my decision. I'm moving Portland down at least one spot for now, and I'm going with the Grizzlies.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I kind of don't.
What are
even
your last
disagree.
three teams? Give me your last three teams right now, so we can plan.
So
this
I have
out.
Portland. I have Portland 8. I had Pelicans 9, and I've originally actually was rocking Pelicans 8, and I was like, nah, Zion's not even playing yet. I was like, let's be honest here. Like David Griffin and co down in New Orleans, they have not put together a competent roster out there either. So I can't have them leapfrog too many teams. And realistically, I should probably have them at 10, but I don't know. I was spicing it up. I always root for Zion. I had him at 9, and I had the Grizzlies at 10.
Okay, here's my thing. I really like this Grizzlies team. I like Steven Adams a lot, and I think that they have John Morant, Steven Adams, Jaren Jackson Jr., and they just kind of need that too. I think if they just kind of pick up a small forward or a shooting guard, somebody kind of lights out, I think this is a dangerous team. I mean, yes, they have Dylan Brooks, but I'm looking for somebody better.
Dylan Brooks is so nice, dude.
He is.
He's almost kind of like Marcus Smart, but probably even better offensively.
Interesting. I mean, I know he is a good player. I can't think of somebody right now that the Grizzlies really, really need. If I'm like looking through, I mean, they could that 2 or 3. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? There were 2 or 3.
Yeah. And the thing is that they basically built almost this entire team.
Yeah.
With draft picks. Obviously, John Morant, draft pick. Dylan Brooks, second round pick. Desmond Bane, late first. Jaren Jackson, whatever. He was 4th overall. Even the bench dude, Brandon Clark, draft pick. Melton, draft pick. They just got Zaire Williams this year.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and Xavier Tillman too. Like all these, like this almost the entire core of the team draft picks. Obviously, they have like Steven Adams, Kyle Anderson there, whatever. I'm not that high on Steven Adams anymore.
I like
but
him, but
I'm pretty sure they got a 1st round pick by doing that whole ordeal. So like, good for them.
I don't know. I can't think of a player right now that I really want for them, but I just think that they're a good team.
Yeah, I think they're I think they're kind of just like vibing and gelling with that team. And they're like, if we overachieve, then we might package some of these guys for like another co-star for John Morant. Or maybe they're like, maybe Jaren Jackson Jr. is that co-star this year.
Maybe. See, I think they just need more scoring, but I had Pelicans at the last slot.
Yeah.
And, they last year, they ended up being right outside the playoffs. So I definitely can see them winning a couple more games and getting into the playoffs. I think it's about that time. I don't know. Have they made the playoffs with this core yet or no?
No.
See, they
have not.
They lost, obviously, some people in the offseason. They lost, Lonzo. They added Devontae Graham. I mean, this is a different looking team. Lonzo was one of those players, like, he really was. Like, once you lost him, it's different now. But they have Jonas Valanciunas instead of Steven Adams, so it's a pretty lateral move. I don't remember, what was that trade between the Grizzlies, and was it literally just Valanciunas for Steven Adams?
I think so. I think it was like Valanciunas and Steven Adams, and like they also gave up a 1st round pick because Steven Adams' contract was trash or something like that.
Yeah, I think
no, Bledsoe was involved in that. They gave Bledsoe. That was why it had to happen.
And he was kind of trash.
Yeah, the last year that whatever they made the trade for Steven Adams, which is kind of stupid, but I don't know. A lot of their pieces, we said it last year that their pieces didn't match, and it was true, dude. It was Ingram and Zion Williamson putting up great numbers. Like, even Lonzo was good.
Yeah, he was. And Valanciunas is better than Steven Adams right now. So they lost some pieces, they gained some pieces back. I like Valanciunas, I do. I didn't used to like him when he was on the Raptors, but since he left, I kind of like him.
He still pisses me off, like, especially whenever I play him. If he's gobbling up 15 rebounds, I'm like, dude, fuck this guy.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, objectively, like, he's a solid player. Yeah. He's not gonna be the difference between being whatever, like, arguably a playing team to all of a sudden you're like the 3 seed. But like, at this point, exactly like you said, like Valanciunas and Steven Adams, it's a lot of remove right there. Yeah, the Pelicans, I'm not too impressed. They just kind of lost Lonzo Ball for nothing besides a 1st round pick, and it's like, whatever. They brought in Devontae Graham. Like, I think Lonzo's a much better player overall. Graham is good.
Yeah, I think he's gonna
make a mistake.
He's gonna kind of fall off this season, leaving his old team. I think we're gonna kind of figure out that he had a good season, but other than that, that was it.
I think they're also kind of banking on either Kyra Lewis or Nickeil Alexander-Walker taking that next step. Right now, Alexander-Walker is the guy in the starting lineup, and he's been good so far. He's averaging over 17 points a game. So if he kind of takes that step, that's a solid young backcourt between Graham and Alexander-Walker. And then even if Kyra Lewis ups his game, and they drafted Trey Murphy, who's kind of supposed to be like a plug and play 3-and-D guy who could be good around Zion and stuff too.
We need to see more out of Jackson Hayes.
Dude, we do. Jackson Hayes has not impressed me at all.
Mm-hmm.
He really hasn't. And I remember when he didn't make like the rookie stars game, he was like, "This league is bullshit" or something like that. And we're like, "Bro, you just like kind of suck."
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I mean,
Not
that's
huge.
it. No, like that's pretty much it. I think those are the only, I mean, the Thunder obviously decent team down there, but
The Thunder won't be going anywhere for a little while, and I
yeah,
think they're fine with that.
yeah,
I mean, the teams that are worth talking about. I mean, the Kings. I don't know what they're gonna do with Marvin Bagley, dude. I think
it
like a
doesn't
team's
matter.
gonna have to. I think a team like the Thunder's gonna have to buy low on Marvin Bagley, and I don't know, dude. That whole thing is a shit show. I mean, Rockets have a nice team like we were talking about, but they're not ready yet. The Spurs are basically just running out like a young core every night, and like I honestly have them down at 15, but like that's kind of the thing that happens every year. Is they'll probably end up being at like 12 and being half decent enough just because of Popovich.
Is Aaron Wiggins related to Andrew Wiggins?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's his younger brother.
Oh, that's funny. I didn't know that.
I think the team that has the potential to shake some shit up, though, obviously the Kings. Like if De'Aaron Fox goes crazy and like Halliburton's nice, whatever, but I don't think they're ready yet. I think the team that could legitimately shake some shit up in the West is Minnesota.
Yeah, I mean that you're absolutely right. I mean, they could end up in this conversation. I mean, they could absolutely end up there. Where are they right now? Yeah, I mean, they're at the 4 seed. I mean, that Anthony Edwards, Karl Anthony Towns, and D'Angelo Russell, that is a nice little trio there. And they also have
Yeah,
Malik Beasley.
offensively, that's crazy. Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't know like Malik Beasley. I thought that he was supposed to be like very. I thought they were really high on him, and now he's kind of like buried down there on their depth chart.
We
I don't
could
know,
see
like
more from him.
yeah, I definitely want to see more from him. Like going into like right before the pandemic, he was really going off. I kind of want to see more from him. Jaden McDaniels, I'm really high on. They selected him, I think, at 27th last year, 28th, something like that.
Hmm.
I'm definitely very high on him. At the very least, he'll be an impactful defensive player. Um, they might need one more like veteran piece in there before they do take that next jump. Patrick Beverly's not that,
Right.
but obviously with that offensive core that they have there, they could absolutely shake some shit up. But defense is certainly an aspect of the game, and just being able to make it work that all three of those guys are eating is probably going to be a little bit tough, especially if you're not that great of a team to begin with.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. Very much appreciated.
Yeah, that'll do it. We hope you enjoyed. We hope you enjoyed our Western Conference preview. We hope you liked hearing us talk about the Warriors. And if you didn't, it is what it is.
And be sure to go listen to the Eastern Conference predictions too. And be sure to keep us in check throughout the season.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll link the Eastern Conference video in the description just so you guys can watch that, just in case you missed it. And that's just about everything.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Be on the lookout for new episodes.
Thank you.
Bye.
Adios.